Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this session. My name is Augie Ilag. I'm a partner and head of Asia at CMT Digital, and it is my pleasure to be moderating this fireside chat titled Crossing the Chasm, the Road to Mass Adoption for the Metaverse, along with our keynote speaker, Sebastien Borget, co-founder and COO of the Sandbox. Seb, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Fantastic. Let's maybe start with some basic questions. I imagine actually most of the folks in the audience would be familiar with yourself, with the Sandbox, with the concept of the metaverse, but let's not make any assumptions and start with some housekeeping questions, if you don't mind, right? I think it'd be very interesting, Seb, to just hear the story of how you and your co-founders started the Sandbox, right? What was the vision for the company originally? And what was the problem that you were hoping to solve, let's say, both for users and potentially for brands?
All right, so maybe not everyone knows, but Sandbox started actually in 2011 as a mobile game. We wanted to enable anyone to become a creator, and back then, smartphone and mobile devices were a great way to experiment with this new technology and put it in the hand of as many people as possible. So just by the touch of your finger on the phone screen, you could drop pixels. Back then, Sandbox was in 2D and create 2D pixelated world that you could share to others in the online gallery where people could start to come and play with. So it was a user-generated content game. It following Minecraft, etc. This kind of game encountered a lot of success. We had 40 million installs over time, 70 million creation. But it also came with some frustration after some time as over the years, we were losing the top creators on this game. Even though we were featuring them, giving them social fame, it was not enough. Creator needed to also receive some other form of reward and recognition. That actually is revenue, since the content they create contribute to the success of the game. And on the platform we were on, the App Store, the Google Play Store, we couldn't really share a portion of that revenue. It was a frustration until we found in 2017 about blockchain and NFTs, and we stumbled upon CryptoKitties, the first NFT game, and we saw immediately the potential of having NFTs combined to user-generated content, allowing creators to truly own their creation, be able to sell it on marketplaces, monetize it the way they want it, and that gave birth to a new version of Sandbox, this time as a 3D multiplayer, multi-platform tool, like a decentralized virtual world where they could make creator could make 3D content and experiences, truly own them and monetize them the way they want. That's what Sandbox is today. We have now over 5 million users with a wallet. We have partnered with more than 400 brands around the world in entertainment, music, fashion, sports. And we are proud to have a very engaged community of creators and landowners, more than 23,500 landowners who are going to use and the no-code game maker of our platform to develop a new format of entertainment, avatar-centric, and earn and keep 95% of the revenue they generate on the platform from the content they create, which is really giving back a lot of on the creator and the creator economy. So that's what Sandbox is at the core today. It's a platform that combines branded content and experiences and user-generated content. We've launched already some of those experiences live with Snoop Dogg, Walking Dead, Warner Music, just to give a few examples. And we're about to enable self-publishing by end of Q3 this year. So then any landowner, any creator can publish themselves, open the experience to their community. And we're going to see that creator economy really take off and greater diversity in the type of content we find in the metaverse.
Super interesting, and we'll definitely unpack, I think, some of these aspects you mentioned around the experiences, etc., Seb. But perhaps one other contextual question before we get there. You mentioned metaverse at the end of sort of the story you shared with us. I think the term metaverse is thrown around a lot, especially last year, and it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, right? For some people, it's a product. For others, it's an experience, it's a place. For even others, it's a frame of mind or something more abstract. I'm just curious, for you, how do you personally define the metaverse and what does it mean in the context of the sandbox?
So Sandbox is a part of the open metaverse. We see the metaverse more like this myriad of virtual worlds and platforms where users can access with an avatar, which is like this 3D character, their new digital identity. They can access like more social, more fun, more immersive worlds in 3D. And they can take their identity as well as any of their digital assets. Imagine like their wearable, their equipment, their creation, their game items, even their virtual land or virtual house. And they can use them across any of those virtual world or platform without any restriction, without having to ask the permission to any of those worlds to be able to do so. Because unlike in the physical world, where I can travel from one country to another, pretty much everywhere in the world, some exception, in the technical space, in technology space, I cannot buy digital content, can play games, but it's almost impossible in Web2 to use that content that I bought and use it in another game, or take that content outside of the game and sell it on a marketplace, even a marketplace outside an eBay of game items, digital content. That was impossible until technology, blockchain, which is like this decentralized public ledger that's transparent and trustable because nobody can modify it without like the consensus of a majority of the network. And it provides like the proof of authorship, who is the original creator of the digital asset, the proof of ownership and the history of transaction between two users of that asset. And also very important and necessary, like the proof of digital scarcity, so that when a content is supposed to have only n copies, you can actually prove that it has only n copies, and that even the creator, the original creator of that content, cannot make more, which enable like to have like a notion of value associated with those digital assets. In 2022, there's been over $40 billion of NFTs that have been transacted as well. So that notion of digital value is being understood specifically by that Gen Z, who 75% of them want to become creator. The majority of them, they spend more now in buying digital goods and virtual items in virtual world and virtual game than sometimes they do buying physical goods. So that they are progressively getting more and more accustomed toward this new digital economy. And now that you have a digital economy with digital assets that have value, you can have like jobs, services, and even leading towards decentralized finance, which is like the topic of this event, and even decentralized governance, where like the asset you own will allow you to become a stakeholder and define the future of the platform where those assets have utility and where you contribute toward these digital economies.
Very interesting. No, thanks for sharing. Let's, now that I think everyone in the audience is on the same page, we understand a little bit about your story, the story of the sandbox, how you got here, what the metaverse is. Let's fast forward to today, right? I think this year, Seb, it's probably fair to say the metaverse as a concept has fallen somewhat out of favor with major publications. Many mainstream media outlets today publishing provocatively titled pieces around the death of the metaverse or something of the sort, right? I think if you read these pieces, they'll talk about maybe the lack of users, perhaps the immaturity of the hardware, and the lack of a clear use case as potential proof points that the metaverse and the platforms that are building around it have yet been unable to live up to their promise, is sort of the push of the piece. I'm curious, what would you say to these critics that are now calling the metaverse just a fad?
So I do believe, obviously, that the metaverse is far from dead. Like, it is here to stay. It's both like a technology and a social revolution. It's in place and content is being produced, experiences are being live, people are entering and participating. We're seeing that at Sandbox. Like, even though the platform is not fully open, when we launched event. We had 1 million unique visitors last year. We still have over 100,000 unique people coming and interacting on a monthly basis in Sandbox. We're seeing, anytime I join and expand in Sandbox, I'm seeing around me like hundreds of people who are like playing, completing quests, chatting, interacting in different ways. And that to me shows that like the activity is there. The ecosystem is growing very actively as well around our platform and in the metaverse in general. So we have more and more creator studios in various regions of the world who are being onboarded and building those experiences for themselves or for various brands, partner, or Web3 communities. We have every week major brands still entering, but they're entering more strategically. They're redefining really the strategy, understanding it's a new medium, so it needs a proper strategy. Yesterday, we announced BBC, who entered the metaverse from a builder studio, Reality Plus in the UK. And yesterday, you were here physically with me. You also witnessed how active the space is, because I'm in Thailand, I'm in Bangkok right now. We had a partner day in Thailand where we had more than 250 people evolving in the ecosystem, creators, builders, studios. There were 6 studios. There were 14 local brands and partners from Thailand that showcased their work, the project they already launched, such as the Songkran Festival by Paraply Studio or the upcoming experience that they're about to launch. And I can definitely feel like there was a lot of energy, there was a lot of content being produced, and there's people who are here to build that future. And that to me is the best form of like reinsurance about this is coming. It takes time. But the good news is it's totally decorrelated from crypto market fluctuation and in general what the media can say about it. So being at the core of this ecosystem and having those partner days in Thailand, but we had it before in Hong Kong, we had it before in Korea, in Turkey, in UK, in France. I can definitely tell you that community is there and things are still ongoing in a very active basis in Sandbox.
Super interesting. And yeah, I think you're right. You know, it's really interesting to hear your stories about what's happening on the ground, because it doesn't often, match up with what we read. So thank you for sharing that. Let's switch gears a bit and talk about consumer adoption, right? I think it's probably also fair to say we're still in the relatively early innings in that regard. But in your view, how would you characterize the current stage of metaverse adoption? And what do you think are sort of the key roadblocks and drivers for mass adoption and longer term user retention?
So we really see like the metaverse as like a combination of like product and content. Like we are building the tools that enable creators to make fun, immersive, and new type of experience that users will not find on other platforms, the traditional like social media or gaming platforms, the App Store, Google Play Store, Steam, etc. We work hard to keep improving those tools, so we have those differentiated experience avatar-centric. We bring brands, more than 400 brands from around the world as well, not just like US or Western brands, but also brands from Korea, from Japan, from Thailand now, to appeal to the local fans so that they discover experience based on content that they are familiar with, content that they want to engage with, but then they stay on the platform to discover everything else. And it contributes to this network effect that we are seeing. So this is important in terms of like adoption, to build content that is fun, that is engaging, and that have mechanics. So you don't just want to come once to the metaverse, but you come back. It's something Sandbox is leveraging our experience in gaming for more than 11 years. We have like quests, we have leaderboards and progression, which makes people explore multiple lands, to complete the different quests, to earn points on the leaderboard that allows them over, let's say, a month's time to earn specific rewards in the form of digital assets, sand, and sometimes even physical merchandising or like rewards, which has been a great driver of retention already. So that's a proven formula. The second thing is we still believe it's an early phase because, as I mentioned a bit before, Sandbox is not fully open as a platform. We're in beta. The tools are there. We have, I don't know, 10 to 100 experience live at any point of time, from brands mostly. But creators, we have more than 23,000 landowners who cannot yet open their land. That is coming by end of Q3. We'll provide them the possibility to self-publish, and all the tools and mechanisms we tested for retention and engagement, the NFT gating, the reward, the leaderboards. And I'm expecting a big shift, a big change starting that point of time where UGC will take a bigger portion of what's available in terms of content in the metaverse. Just think about it. You enter Sandbox, you can spend a 1 hour day on average, and you want 10 experience to go and explore. But tomorrow, by end of Q3, you have thousands of experience to explore. So it's become like a never-ending discovery and always new rewards, new communities, new projects you can use, and you can use your NFTs to grow their value or just have fun, socialize with others. There will be many more reasons for you to keep engaging, discovering, and staying on the platform. And we hope that UGC will be the leading way to drive the engagement in the metaverse.
Makes a ton of sense. And actually, that was very much going to be my next question for you, Seb, which is, it sounds like in your product roadmap, there's a lot to look forward to, both in terms of creator tools, the broader opening. Anything else in your product roadmap that you want to call out, particular features that you're excited about aside from what you've already shared?
So we're always listening to the creator and community. I would say Sandbox is really creator driven and creator first. And we heard that they wanted to have more visual effect, video and audio streaming, multiplayer gameplay. So all of that is already ready, and they are building now with this new version of the Game Maker, new experiences that once people will see, they will really feel like a huge upgrade of what Sandbox experience were from before. We're already working on the next version, adding more complex gameplay rules, game mechanics, so you can create PvP, PvE, team plays, multiplayer games with rules, victory condition, etc. That will keep broadening the spectrum of all the available experiences. And then we're working, and I believe that's also one of the strengths of Sandbox platform. We have teams in about 12 regions and countries in the world, connecting with local brands, meaning that Sandbox is it's becoming a global digital nation with a lot of cultural elements like Lunar New Year, Ramadan Festival, Songkran Festival, and elements that you cannot find on other platforms, and that will keep improving the diversity of the content that you can explore and the type of experience you can encounter. Also, we've been experimenting a lot with generative AI. Tools will not be put in hands of creators yet, except one partnership we had with Scenario, because we're still testing the maturity of those. But we see a lot of potential that probably starting 2024, as the AI has been really progressing that fast, will help creators to build even faster, materialize their ideas from just pure concept into concrete experiences, and make content creation as simple as one click or one text writing, which bring even more creator in the space. And we know that creator is a key to other success because they will bring the content that attract those users.
Makes a lot of sense. And yeah, actually, you touched on sort of the intersection with the technology you're building and sort of how it might intersect with other technologies like AI. Another sort of platform shift I'd love to get your thoughts on, because I do feel like it's probably something that you guys are thinking about, if not building towards already, is the platform shift towards AR and VR. I'm curious, how are you guys thinking about the impact of that technology on your roadmap, and how are you preparing for that upcoming technology shift?
Absolutely. Well, we stay very alert about what's happening in the space. So far, everything we've seen before in terms of VR, we found was not satisfactory in terms of user experience, seamless experience, and was still too limited in terms of adoption to limit even Sandbox to it. But now, we have seen a lot of interoperability of Sandbox assets into other AR-based mobile AR-based games or virtual world like VR or free play, etc., which drive a new way to interact with those NFTs and offer great potential. But we're also quite excited by what Apple is going to announce on June 5th. Like a lot of rumors around it, of course, but over my career as an entrepreneur of 16 years, it's always by being a geek and early adopter in new technology that we've been inspired in like how those technology can really change the way we interact with content, we interact with each other, and we can access greater experience. So if I don't know how it will be called, but let's say the Apple AR VR headset provide an exciting way to interact with content that is more seamless and that doesn't obstruct you from the reality or put you into a narrow window to the world, but offers like ways to connect, socialize in multiplayer into virtual worlds. I think it can be quite interesting to look at and potentially could generate a new wave of adoption, early adoption. But again, like inspiring creator is the key, and that's why we're interested to look at it.
Makes sense. We've talked a lot, Seb, about the technological piece. I'd be remiss if we didn't spend a few minutes on the experiences, because I know a lot has been built in the sandbox already, right? And I've heard you speak previously about at least what I believe is one of the most powerful value propositions of the sandbox, the ability to remix content, to create these sort of new experiences to delight users, right? And maybe for those in the audience who have not yet tried the sandbox, I'm wondering if you could perhaps speak to a few of the more innovative experiences or brand collaborations that have already been created in the sandbox.
Absolutely. You're right. Like one of the unique aspect of Sandbox is taking your NFTs, digital asset from your favorite brands. Think of like, hey, like behind me, like you have, I don't know, like Smurf, the Rabbits, Care Bears, The Walking Dead. Take those assets individually and you can put all of them into your own land and then publish that, create a new story, a new adventure. It's almost like a Lego world taking space and coming out of your imagination that you can invite your friends and anyone in the world to access and play with, which you cannot do on any other platform so far, which that's why like it's quite original and unique. The second thing is like brands have already launched experiences and noticed like success in terms of engagement from their core fans and communities into it. I'm thinking about Rabbit, who launched their avatar collection and enabled users to co-create in various experiences. I'm thinking about Ledger, who have been able to create from just a hardware wallet security into a whole space, teaching you about Web3 security and co-creating an adventure RPG game with their community. I'm thinking about Warner Music, of course, who designed a musical theme park, where as you walk with your avatar, you discover new music genre and you can support various artists and discover talent. Or Paris Hilton, which has like created various places inspired by her style for her fan base, had many music and events for like Valentine's Day, an island of love where people could be dating, Halloween Castle, where she was remixing DJ music, and now she's launching her own avatar collection of 5,555 unique characters inspired by her. So, like, really building her presence in that new space is quite interesting. And I think, like, every day we discover new content as we meet with creators. And that's also the beauty of being like a user-generated content platform. Having sometimes like being surprised ourselves what people can do with our tool and how they are solving certain challenge about education, challenge about like raising awareness to support certain cause, or create social impact, work on the topic of environment support, sustainability. For example, a project like Vistaverse has created a place where people could protest with their avatar and show their support from anywhere in the world towards certain cause. And they got the support from Amnesty International about like supporting like the right for abortion for women, which is like a very important right. And we're glad to be the place where people can express that support. There's been I could spend hours to talk about like everything I played and entered recently, but I think the best is like just like you should try an avatar, create your avatar for free, try it for yourself in Sandbox, and start discovering and exploring to see like the whole potential of it all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome, Seb. I think we have time for maybe one more question. We've talked a lot today about users, potential users of the metaverse. Now, I do want to ask a question on behalf of maybe founders and investors out there in the audience, right? Any advice for either segment? You know, if you're an investor interested in participating in the metaverse, how to get exposure, or what are some things that you should look for? Or if you're a founder, you know, what opportunities remain for new startups to address within this broad ecosystem?
I think there's still a lot like to be covered in the space of this the metaverse ecosystem. Like we have infrastructure with virtual land, with a token, with a platform where tools are created, but we don't have yet a lot of services around like matching creators with players, the distribution, the discovery, the promotion, mapping and discovering experiences across many virtual worlds, the avatar management. Those are some of the key topics. More from a pure creator perspective, we are seeing marketplaces, jobs marketplaces, where like as a landowner, you can find a creator. As a landowner, you can buy a template for your land to put on a one-click an experience ready to be going live. We are seeing a lot of potential into everything related to like engagement, re-engagement, all those ownership relation management solution where they can create cohort of users based on the NFTs and token they own into various communities, and then try to analyze them to make specific targeted offers, promotion, airdrops, etc., to attract users across like the overall ecosystem. And anything that support the idea that there is really a network effect in place. And when users create an account or a wallet in a certain place and start like engaging, let's say you create your wallet in Sandbox, but you don't buy yet anything in Sandbox. You find another project which you like, you buy the NFT there, and then suddenly like your value grows because you have digital asset of value in your wallet, and that NFT becomes interoperable in Sandbox, but maybe in other places. That could be a way to attract those users and get them back to spend on yours. But right now, like there's no way to discover the possible utility of your NFTs, like owning an NFT, having access to certain feature, but how do you know exactly where you can benefit from those different perks, for example? So a whole range of possibilities, but you have to be in the space to start understanding better the needs either from the creator or the users.
Makes a ton of sense. And then with that, Seb, I think we're actually just at time. I wanted to give a big thank you to the folks in the audience, the wonderful organizers at SCB 10X, and of course, Sebastien, thank you so much for an engaging and insightful discussion. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.